Yo, good morning, guys. What's up? What's up? Your boy back in the studio. I gotta put this phone on the charger. Yo. Let's see here. Good morning.
from Georgia, where I've spoken many times and will return, if for no other reason than I'll be back at DragonCon this year. So how are you doing, John?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, not too bad.
Hey, first off, before I get to my question, first off, I'm sorry about my voice. I have a little bit of a speech impediment.
Oh, that's fine.
But also, I'm very nervous too. So.
Hey, I had a question for you, John. Can you actually see the show, or are you just on your phone?
Well, I'm on my phone now, but not looking at it now.
Okay. Because they told us what your question was, and I had the studio pull up a visual aid that I was going to use, but I'll describe it to you. So go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Well, first I want to tell you real quick, Matt. I watched you debate a lot of people, from Matt Slick to Braxton Hunter.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I do have disagreements with you and the atheist experience, but I want to tell y'all, you probably know more than me, being in this 15 years. Christians can be some of the meanest people. You know, I just want to let you know that they're not all like Matt Slick and Luke and Cake, if that's how you say his name.
I used to be one. I have lots of family members who are. I don't view them as any meaner than anybody else. As a matter of fact, most of the people I debate are some of the nicest people. Yeah, okay. So I might be an exception, but I get along.
What you streaming though? Games?
Well, I don't know how you do.
I streamed some video games last night just to test my YouTube to see if it was back up, because my live stream got banned for 90 days, and so like I wasn't exactly sure, you know, the date when I would get my live stream back. So I was playing Ghost Recon last night and just decided to test it out, and it actually popped up. So I started live streaming some video games last night. But now we in the studio. This is the main reason for the stream. This is the main reason for the stream. Yeah, I had two other accounts, but I just get tired of like switching accounts on this Joe. So this time I'm going to be very, very cautious and make sure they don't fucking ban me. But yeah, I like chill streams, yo. There's not a... I call up hookers. And what, you just talk to them on the phone, or you actually invite them over? Inviting a hooker over is, I can imagine how interesting that would be. That can be a TV show in itself, yo. Candid camera hookers. Alright, got some emails about my show. Oh, I got to show y'all the intro for my TV show. Been working on it for about a year. It's finally getting down to its last phases of editing. There's just a few more voiceovers I have to do. And I'm answering some emails right now because I'm talking to some of the people I actually interviewed for the show. So yeah, this is something I can show you guys. And so hopefully by the first of the year, like at least January, we could we can start airing this on our local TV station. No, didn't want to do that. Alright, check this out, guys. So this is the opening scene for my talk show. This is Travis Prince roundtable discussions. Well, it's worded like this right now. So ECTV stands for Electric City, which is Scranton, Pennsylvania. Is known as the Electric City, and so that's the local. That's the public access channel is Electric City Television, and this is the Travis Prince Electric City Roundtable Talk Show. And this is just the intro, so but it's really good. It's really cool though, and I think all the episodes have been edited down. I just have to do some voiceovers. To the full episodes come out. So I had to what I got to do now is all the different artists that we show in the opening sequence. So everyone has their own episode where I interview them. And so now I need to sit down and do a opening voiceover for each guest. And like during the opening sequence and right before the actual episode starts, I need to say something like, on this episode of Electric City's Television Roundtable Discussions, I'll be sitting down with Ryan Knapp. Ryan is a local art educator at an elementary school, and he works in graphic design and geometric shapes to produce beautiful art, and or something like that, and do that for each guest. On this episode, I'll be speaking with such and such, such and such, such and such, and so once that is done, that'll be it, and then we can start airing the programs. but there's 9 episodes in season 1, and then we'll do while season one is actually airing, we'll start recording some more episodes. I only have 2 artists lined up for like more interviews because nobody wants to interview, and it's so hard trying to get people to actually just sit down and talk about their art. Yo, it's weird. But I'm gonna get desperate and interview my damn self. Alright. I got a drawing I need to do today, but I am going to work on this painting a little bit more and try to add some more details to her shirt. So I have a few different pieces. Well, not a few. 3 different pieces going on right now. I just finished one, waiting for that one to dry so I can actually varnish it. Ay. So this piece is done. This is done, son. Oh. Ugh. Your boy over here looking like the Black Jesus and whatnot. I don't know how good y'all can see that. I call this piece Something from Nothing, because there's all this stuff, all these different phenomenon that we are aware of, but we don't know where it came from. It's like it came from nowhere, like it came from nothing. But how can you get something from nothing? Where did the universe come from? It came from the Big Bang. Where did the Big Bang come from? That shit came from nothing. How can nothing equal something? Huh? This is the question this is the ultimate science question ever. And scientists and theologians and philosophers alike have been trying to use language in the words that we have surmounted over the years to try to explain this. How do you explain this from this? And then on top of that, this right here actually made this. So how can nothing make something and then something make a fucking consciousness? It's I try to be deep in the simplicity of it. But this picture right here is essentially the ultimate science question. We understand it doesn't exist, but we have a concept for time. We try to understand what is space and all the phenomena that we are aware of, like electricity, light, gravity, magnetism. And we have all these different phenomena working together in a cohesive, organized way that it is possible for life to exist. And not only for life to exist, but for non-living matter to create life, and then life to create a consciousness to even ponder the phenomenon that we don't know where the fuck it come from. Do you get me? No? I know it's like it's around and about, and it's, but yo, that's the shit I be on, yo. That's the kind of stuff I be thinking about. And then when you get down to the real nuts and bolts of it, science will tell you we don't fucking know. We don't know. We're trying to figure it out, and we've been trying to figure it out for centuries now, but we don't know. And religion will tell you that, oh, we know. We absolutely know for a fact where everything came from, but we can't prove it. So it's like, which way are you gonna lean to? Some people that say they genuinely don't know, and they want to understand, and they want to find out how this thing has happened. Or the group that says, we know how it happens. I'm going to tell you exactly how it happens in a very detailed form. I can tell you how this happened, but I don't have proof for it. I don't have any real solid evidence or proof, but I know it. And then you're like stuck in the middle with you. But it's like, so who you gonna believe, huh? Who you gonna believe? But I like this piece, and I'm excited for people to see it and sit down and have their own discussions about it. And it's weird because in the past few months I've ran into like a couple of religious people who, when you speak to them, and throughout the course of the conversation, you can pretty much assume that they think that everyone believes in something or believes the same thing that they believe in. Because I'm at an art gallery, and this one guy starts talking about Jesus and his Savior and missionary work and this and blessings and miracles, and it's like, and I'm trying to be cordial, and I just listened to him, and I made some small comments back and forth, but nothing out the way, and it's just like, you don't even know what I believe, but you're asserting that I believe what you believe. And then another incident recently, I helped this lady at one day. She was we were at a post office, and she was leaving, and she came back in asking for assistance because her vehicle wouldn't start, and she was wondering if somebody had some jumper cables to kind of give her car a jump start. And so I did, and I helped her, and her car got started, and she went about her way. And like a month or so after that, I'm shopping at a store, and I see this lady, and I didn't recognize her at first immediately. Like, but I'm looking at her and she looks familiar. I'm like, I know this lady from somewhere, and she's looking at me, and she comes over and she says, "Aren't you the young man that gave me a jump a while ago?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. That's where I know you from." I said, "I thought you looked familiar." And she said, "Oh, thank you so much. Bless your heart." She said, "You should come to our church on Sunday." I said, "Oh, really?" Yeah. I said, "I don't know." She said, "Yeah, you should definitely come to our church." And she told me the name of the church and where it's at. And she said, "I'm gonna see you Sunday." I said, "No, ma'am. I don't go to church." She was like, "Well, have you ever been to our church?" I said, "No, ma'am." "Well, you should come. You might like it." I said, thank you, but no, thank you. I don't go to church." And she said, "Okay. Well, don't forget where it's at, and just in case you want to come." Okay. And then this was like Tuesday. It was Tuesday of this week. I was at work, and I do like a bunch of different things at work, and I had to go to this. I had to leave the office and go to another office. I'm back in the building, boy. Back in the building. Oh, y'all watch out, man. I got my coworker here with me now, bruh. Y'all good. But yeah, I was at work, yo, and I had to go to this I had to go to another location to do some stuff. It was like another office, but we just go to this other office and help them out sometimes with their stuff over there. And so I'm there, and this couple walks in, and they're talking with some of the other staff members, and the husband, he he looks my way, and I'm looking. They walk in the room. I wave, hey, and then you know you feel like somebody looking at you. So I look around, and the dude kind of looking at me still, and then him and his wife are talking with the other lady, and then he comes over to me, and he's like, have you ever done any acting before? I'm like, kind of, but not really. He's like, well, I'm putting on the play, and you would fit the role of the character that I need, and I would love to have he said the character has to be a black guy, but he would absolutely love if the guy had dreads, and however he wrote his play, it just fits that way. And he's like, you would fit this character really well. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, it, it's titled Talking to the Enemy, or Talking with the Enemy, or something like that. It was something to that effect. And he goes on to try to describe it. I'm like, talking with the enemy. I'm like, oh, okay, what's it about? He's like, well, it's about God and the devil, and then what if a person in their life, Satan was really trying to mess with them and manipulate them, and they're hearing Satan's voice all the time, but they're trying to get closer to God, and so essentially they're talking with the enemy or something like that, and it's all about salvation and being born again, and I'm like, uh, awesome idea. Respectfully, I will have to decline. I don't really associate myself with religious stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to ruin your playing like being a part of some wholehearted like religious stuff, knowing like I'm not there with that. Like, and he just looked at me like, really? Like, yeah, 'cause you just assumed that I believe in your God and your Jesus, and I want to play this character that tells everybody don't listen to the devil, listen to God, and it's like I don't want to do that. So that's it, and that's just in the past few months where just conversations and interacting with people on an everyday basis, they kind of assume that everybody still believes some type of Christian worldview, and it's not. It's definitely not. But at the same time, science can't get us to the final answers either. I'm reading this book right now, The Religious Case Against Belief. I'm not exactly sure where it's going. I don't think the guy is religious, but the first few pages he's just talking about how the church has been challenged throughout history. He went into depth on Galileo and his findings and how he was uh, ostracized and fucking essentially put on house arrest for the rest of his life just for expressing some of his ideas and questions that he had about the workings of our universe and the position of our planet in the cosmos. And it was like the church was like, fuck that, you can't change this shit. And he talks about ignorance, and now he's getting on the subject of what the difference between belief and faith and things like that. So it's a pretty good read so far. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, some of that paint's still wet, yo. That's crazy. I put a lot of paint on there. This canvas is chunky. Oh, all right. So I was saying this one is done, and I have two more. One of them will. I don't know, man. I keep messing up the background on that one, and so I'm gonna change the colors on that one. But that's the one I'll be working on today. Is this one right here? That's a painting of my good friend and founder of the Black Scratch Project, Miss Glennis Johns. And then I have another new painting that I started. And then I have another painting of myself that I started, which will be the second piece in this series right here. Alright, bro. I'll be right here. I'll be here for a minute. Matter of fact, honestly, guys, I'm getting hungry. I might run downstairs and grab me a bowl of cereal. How about that? Because I don't feel like cooking breakfast. I don't feel like cooking breakfast. Putting waffles in the toaster.
Because his
Yeah, well, waffles don't really take that long in the toaster, but cereal is quicker. But with waffles, I can put syrup on it. Syrup. Alright, so what y'all say? Waffles or cereal? But see, normally when I eat waffles, I like to have eggs with my waffles. And that's like, now you're starting to cook. And I don't feel like cooking. And plus, we're in the studio. I can't walk away for that long to go scramble some eggs and shit. Or could I? Oh well, wait a minute. If I'm live streaming on the PlayStation, can I take my phone? Can I live stream on my phone at the same time? Hmm. If I can live stream on my phone, man, y'all might have to come in the kitchen with me. Oh, snap. Yo, I got 2 lives going at one time. I ain't know that was possible. I swear. Yo, see if y'all can find my this new live that just popped up. Cause I'm live on the phone. Yep. Yo, what up? What up? What up? What up? Yo, that's crazy. I really didn't know. Yo, I'm streaming live from the PlayStation and streaming live from the phone at the same time. Alright, so if y'all gonna stick in the stream, cause I am coming back in the studio to paint some more stuff. But I gotta go grab a breakfast. Yo, find the other live, yo. Everybody find the other live stream. There's a second one. It's live right now. Can y'all see it? Y'all can see the second one? Alright, anyway, we going downstairs, yo. Bro, I just did it. Our show is see, I can't leave out the studio. Yo, the show is almost wrapping up, bro. It's almost done. We're down to the final phase of editing right now. And I just got to do a little bit of voiceovers. Right there, Travis Prince, ECTV Roundtable Talk Show. Find the second stream, guys. I got 2 streams going. If y'all can jump on the second live stream I got going, we about to go in the kitchen real quick. I wasn't playing about that TV show. Everybody thought it was like, you doing a TV show? Like, yeah, I'm gonna do a TV show. Alright guys, I'm going downstairs, man. I gotta go grab something to eat, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm about to cook some waffles and eggs real quick, bro. Cause I'm hungry. And we back. And I'm done with this one. We out of here. Nice. What up, guys? Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how I'm about to open the water from the bottom. Me too, bro. I can't wait for people to see it, man. To see their reaction. A lot of people gonna be like, "Oh, that's bullshit," but a lot of people will get it. Mm. Mm. It's gonna be rough, man, because we can't we can't listen to a lot of shit no more, yo. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you what we can talk about real quick though. Yo. Yo. Hey, how Trump said he gonna build a wall in Colorado? Yo. Please tell me y'all heard that shit, yo. Motherfuckers say, yeah, we're gonna build a wall in New Mexico. We're gonna build a wall in Colorado. A big wall that works. Yo, swear to God, bro. Swear to God. Look that shit up, yo. Trump say he gonna build a wall in Colorado. Like, Trump, how you the president and you don't even know what your country look like? You don't know where Colorado at, bro? That shit does not border Mexico. But that's where you want to build your wall at. Hey, we're gonna build a wall in Colorado. He's a fucking idiot. He is. Mm-mm. It's sad, yo. I wish I could play that shit so bad, yo. Yeah, New Mexico borders Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Those are the border states. Not Colorado. That motherfucker said Colorado. Like, bro, you like 2 states away, bro. Like, what you doing? Look at the map. Look at the map, Trump. Look, Trump. Just read the prompter, bro. Don't say nothing that you're thinking yourself. Read the prompter, and you know what? It'd be fucked up if that was written on the prompter, and that's why he said it. Either way. Either way, Vladimir Putin over there in Russia, like, motherfucker, I know Colorado don't border like, damn, bitch. Like, shit, I don't even live in America, and I know Colorado's not a border state. Yo, we living in some fucked up times right now, man. You don't understand. You're not understanding this, man. You not. Yo, president of the United States doesn't know what the United States looks like. I need to. Hey, if I ever see Trump, I'd be like, yo, Trump, what's the capital of North Dakota? And see what he say. What's the capital of Iowa? Name all the border states. Colorado, you're wrong. Real fucked up, bro. It's real fucked up. The president don't know what the country look like. I wonder if there is a clip of that I can play, yo. Not with the bad hand. Man, this dude said he got in a road rage fight.
President making a speech in Pittsburgh.
And that's crazy because he was in PA. He's in Pittsburgh talking this shit. All right, so this is news. So I think I can play this.
And I've got to assume that he went off script because he said this.
We're building a wall on the border of New Mexico, and we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that really works, that you can't get over. You can't get building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall.
A beautiful wall.
A big one that really works.
It really works.
You can't get over. You can't get under.
So joining me now is
a wall on the border of New Mexico, and we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that really works, that you can't get over. Colorado. We're building a beautiful, and we're building a wall in Colorado. And we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that.
But the crowd never stops applauding. And we're building a wall in New Mexico. Yeah, all right. We're building a wall in Colorado. All right, yeah. What? In Colorado? A big, beautiful wall that works. I think all walls work for whatever purpose they're erected. You know, the walls in this room are working. They are working walls. They're doing what walls do. You know, hold stuff up and keep stuff on one side and stuff on the other side. You know, walls keep the inside in and the outside out. That's why I'm not outside right now, because of my walls. And they're working. So I never seen a wall that didn't work. Colorado, bro. Colorado. Sad. You know, back in the day, man, when if a motherfucker said something dumb, it was okay for you to smack him in the back of the head. You remember that shit? Huh? Motherfucker say some dumb shit. Man, shut the fuck up. That shit was dumb as fuck, yo. That's what I feel like doing to Trump right now, yo. I don't want to punch him in his face. I don't want to slap him in his face. I don't want to kick him in his nuts. And I just want to, like, slap him in the back of the head, like, yo, what are you doing? Shut up, bro. You're fucking dumb right now. Yo, swear to God, yo. Bruh. I couldn't even talk for like 2 minutes, like, trying to shovel that shit in, like, I'm alright now. You know what I'm saying? I don't really want to hurt him, but I want to bring his attention to the fact that he just said something dumb. Just snap him back to reality real quick. Bow! Ooh. Huh? What you hit me for? Because you just said some dumb shit. Colorado is not on the border of fucking Mexico. You're not building a fucking wall in Colorado. Stop it. Dumbass. The whole world just heard you say that shit. You know how that makes me look? Huh? I have to forcefully carry the label of American citizen. You make all us look bad. We're not all as dumb as you. Shut the fuck up, bro. I know where Colorado's at. I can point to it on a fucking map. Colorado's a really square, boxy, rectangle state. And it says Colorado on it. But I digress. You know? Shit, I've been talking about it. I heard about this shit the day before yesterday. This is 3 days in a row this shit has been on my mind. Like, this motherfucker just said you go build a wall in Colorado. I cannot believe the education system has failed everyone. It's failed everyone. I'm working on 2 paintings with gold circles. I may even do another one with gold circles because something just hot about that gold circle, yo. That golden crown. I love that shit, yo. Snatch that shit from the white Jesus. You know, you see pictures of white Jesus and it's always like a sun, a disc behind them, the sun disc representing the sun god or the son of God. I'm not going to get into all that. But anyway, that's kind of what it means when you see a figure. And sometimes you can see like the Virgin Mary or some of the saints, and they're all in their prayer pose. And then there's like this circle behind their head. Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's yellow. It kind of represents a halo or the sun. And so yeah, I did that a couple times. I like that shit. I like how it looks when it's gold. And so like a halo, yes. And so I've been using gold leaf to get the effect that I want. And it's hot, son. Hot like fire. Super hot fire. Don't forget Trump said he's gonna build a wall in Colorado. Super hot fire. So this is the last piece I finished. Oh shit. Oh, you didn't know that's where the Son of God come from? It comes from sun god, sun worship, which is some of the oldest spiritual systems out there is the worship of the sun, because the sun, our closest star, gives life to the planet. We all know that the sun gives us heat. The sun makes plants grow. The sun gives us daylight, and when we can't see the sun, it's dark and it's cold. You know what I'm saying? And so people worship the sun, and that transmorphed from all the older pagan religions of the sun god, and then the Greco-Romans came up with the Son of God, which is Jesus. Same thing, man. Jesus is a sun god. It's sun worship. That's why you go to church on Sunday. It all makes sense, man. Yeah, Ra, the sun god, Amen Ra. Yeah. Yep, exactly. So, I don't know who that nigga is, but he kind of handsome, yo. He just got this look, this stern look of inquisitivity in his eyes, trying to question the cosmos and where in the hell this shit come from, because it couldn't come from nothing. Yeah, that's me. Without the tattoos, I left my tats out. I was gonna paint my tattoos, but I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll leave it. It looks nice and natural like that. And that's my nipple. Yep. That is my nipple. Oh, we're getting that glare. So this is something from nothing. Oh. Then I started this piece with the golden circle, which is I did this with gold leafing, and gold ink. So it's like a two-tone gold. You can't really see it on camera like that, but it's actually like you get two different gold tone effects on there. That shit hot like fire, son. Then that shit, when the light hit it, it turned into that bright white sun disk. But this only has one layer of paint, still working on some details on this piece. But this is gonna be nice. It's gonna be a nice painting. You see, it's all wet just by me touching it. Like, this one is yet untitled, but I probably just call it Nude Number 5 or something. I have a lot of nude paintings. I take these pictures myself. Yeah, so for my self-portraits, I have a tripod. I have several tripods. I just use this one for my camera setup in here. And I rigged this one so that it can hold the phone. So it's actually just like a phone, a car holder. And then I just have it like zip tied to a tripod. And so if I stream from my phone, I can just do it like that. But like I said, I have other tripods, and they just have the screw right here. You screw your camera on there and take pictures of yourself. And the nude picture, I took that photograph. And the other painting that I'm currently working on, let me set this here. I took that photograph as well. And I have another self-portrait I'll be working on, which I took myself. So this is the piece that I'm currently working on. And this is my friend Glennis Johns. Once again, is the founder of the Black Scranton Project. Here we go again. Black Scranton Project. Meet the board. Glennis M. John is the founder. Is a professor and historian based in Scranton. Her primary focus is archiving local Black history and culture while also curating space for emerging and POC artists, writers, scholars of Napa and showcase their work. Meet Travis Prince, best known for his painting Chancellor Williams. Travis Prince is a self-taught portrait artist from South Carolina. His focus on education and social issues, relationships within the Black community is put in the forefront of his work. His medium of choice is oils. Connie Bennett, owner and stylist of Vanity, a boutique salon in West Scranton. So we have our whole board for the Black Scranton Project. We have two more board members. We have Gary. I don't think Rashida's no longer on the board. And then we have Benita. And so this is actually Glennis herself. I didn't exactly paint Chancellor Williams, but I painted the cover of his book, Destruction of Black Civilization. And so in my reader series, I do an entire series of paintings where Black people are reading books by Black authors. And one of the first ones that I did is a self-portrait of me reading Chancellor Williams' book. And so each time I do a reader series, the title of the painting is the name of the author of the book that is being focused on in the painting. So I've done a picture of Martin Luther King's Why We Can't Wait. And so the title of that painting is Dr. Martin Luther King, our Dr. Amos Nelson Wilson, or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so each painting is named after the author, and then there's the painting titled Chancellor Williams. And then there is the Dank series. Dankity dank dank. Dankity dank dank. Dank dank dank. Dankity dank dank. Dankity dankity dank dank. That motherfucker suave. Suave. Alright, I may have to get the back out. Let's see. Brushes. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to attempt to move this PlayStation off the shelf to get it closer to the canvas. So, if the stream shuts off, it's because I accidentally unplugged this shit. I'm trying not to, though, guys. What the... Oh, I forgot I put all my tools down. Man, don't you know I've been looking for this damn book, man? I gotta use this later. Alright. Damn, I was looking for my sketch pad. I didn't realize I set all these tools. These are art workshop tools. Cause I'll be in here. Hey man, yo, to be an artist, you just don't use a brush, man. You gotta use a hammer. You gotta use a wire brush sometimes, some scissors, a little hacksaw, you know, just in case somebody shackle you in a room by your ankle and you need to cut your foot off. I'm pretty sure everybody gets the reference. But anyway, want to play a game? Got some pliers and some needle nose pliers and screwdrivers. Some bigger needle nose pliers. Alright, got all that out the way. So let's make a real effort not to unplug the power from the PlayStation. Nope. Making no lead. Wait. Let's see. Don't come out. Ooh, I got it. You still got power? Everything's still connected? Move, chair. Let me set it on this side. Like this. Don't turn out the power, nigga. Yeah, I know I'm good. I'm good at fucking stuff up now. You can't fuck that up. Let me try. I'll show you. I'll show you how to fuck some shit up real quick. Okay, that's about as much as I can give it right there. Alright, everything's still connected. Cool. That's a great pipeline. Crap. Run out of space. Alright. Okay. The gold circles. Man, them gold circles hot, son. For custom paintings, it all depends. My starting price is $400, so I won't touch any type of project for less than $400. But on top of that, like when what people want me to do, you rarely get that $400 price, because like $400 is my bare bones, bare minimum, and most people don't want a bare minimum painting. It's always something extra in it. So on average, for a custom piece of art, you're looking at about $700 or $800, and that's including shipping, because you have to pay for your own shipping fees and stuff. So on an average, I can get you a painting shipped to you for about $700-800. Alright, that's all set up and looking swell. It's looking swell, I must say. I gotta pick a painting to give to this, donate to an auction today. And I'm not sure which piece I want to give up, but I'll pick something. Alright, I'm just making sure everything is set up nice. We can actually do stuff. Get started. Let's see. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Not selling one. I'm kind of donating it to a gallery for their annual auction. So the gallery keeps 70% and I get 30%, which is, basically nothing for a piece of art. Like, you're basically donating it. So they'll give you a couple little dollars off of it, but it's the simple fact that I do have a shitload of like little old paintings just sitting around the house that nobody actually wants to purchase. So just to give one of these paintings a home, if somebody wants to buy it for a few bucks and actually hang it in their house and appreciate it and take care of it, it's better than it, being stacked up in a room somewhere in my house with nobody looking at it at all. So every once in a while, like, I'll try to do something with my older stuff. Like my newer, bigger stuff, like all of my big stuff is too good to ever give away. But I do have like some older stuff that I wouldn't mind just, somebody else taking care of and somebody else being able to see it. So I'm not sure which piece I want to do though. I got this one painting of I forgot the actor's real name, but he played the character Jesse Pinkman on Breaking Bad, and it's just a little small painting I did of Jesse Pinkman, and it's kind of violent because he's pointing a gun directly at the viewer, So nobody's really wanted that piece. I think I might give that away. Or I have this one old painting of some candy. And I was thinking about that since it's Halloween, so I might give that one up. Cause the Jesse Pinkman painting is hot as fuck though. I like that shit. And the candy is a cool painting too, but I don't think it's hot as the fucking Jesse Pinkman painting. Aaron Paul, there you go. And that painting is kind of important to me too because I don't paint a lot of celebrities or like pop culture art and stuff like that. So I didn't actually do a painting of Aaron Paul. I did a painting of Jesse Pinkman, which is Aaron Paul as this character he plays. So that's kind of like pop art and pop culture, and I really don't do pieces like that. I've actually only done like 3 pieces ever of well-known people. And so like a few years ago I did a piece of a painting of Alex Jones, which kind of is a part of like pop culture because Alex Jones is just like that far out crazy guy. And so I did a painting of him. I did a painting of Denai Guerrera, I know her name, and so she's the actor that plays Michonne on The Walking Dead. So I didn't paint Denai, I painted Michonne, the character she plays, which is, pop culture. So I've painted Alex Jones, I've painted Michonne, and I've painted Jesse Pinkman. And those are the only 3 paintings that I've ever done of like recognizable famous people, because I just don't like painting famous people. A lot of famous people really don't intrigue me, and I don't really see why so many people kind of worship celebrities and like movie stars and people like that. It's just the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, I have some favorite artists and like favorite musicians and stuff like that, but I don't idolize them for some reason. And so I don't want to create images of iconic people. I think it's just watered down because you've seen these people so many times, and they're so recognizable that I don't need that in my art. I want something in my art that you haven't seen or people that you don't know. I think that makes a bigger impact than just painting a picture of Tupac or Biggie Smalls or Bob Marley or some shit like that. So, but hey, that's just me. I may paint a picture of a border wall in Colorado. Hear me out first. I hope so, bro. Just keep pushing this thing and trying to push a good concept.
That you can't get over, you can't get under.
I didn't mean to do that. Just trying to push good concepts, cool ideas, and make some beautiful images to go along with it. And I feel it too though. Like this year right here has been a really good year for me. I've done like 2 news interviews. I've done a radio interview. I've done like 2 newspaper interviews. I've had like 10 or 12 shows. And working on my own artist talk show. Like this year was really good. So if I can just keep this momentum going, I feel the same thing by 2023 and the next, 3-4 years. Like within the next 5 years, I should be, showing in New York, Manhattan and Philadelphia. See if I can. I was talking to this one guy in Cali, and that's why I actually like where I'm at now, and I don't want to move because I'm really close to New York and Philadelphia, and like my ultimate goal is to become international, where I can have a show in Italy or Rome or Paris or somewhere, But we'll get there. Hey, practice, patience, passion, and persistence. Forget about who? What's your name?
His whole thing about the
Tequila.
laws of logic is kind of odd to me, but, whatever, that's his thing.
Which reminds me, Matt, if you're watching, where are you? He was going to come down to Austin. We were going to have some tequila and shoot some stuff on 2 different occasions, and I guess they both fell through. But I will always have a bottle of tequila, and Matt's always welcome to come over and have some. Anyway, I want to get to your question, John, rather than, trying to get myself out to slick.
Like I said, I do have disagreements with y'all, and I want to be respectful and courteous. But to me, I've just started reading, I know it's a late book, but Reasonable Faith by William Lane Craig.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, man, I went into that book thinking, the guy everybody talks about. But I'm going to be honest with you. Now that I've read it, or some of it about the how to prove Christianity, I have to say I'm kind of disappointed. But my question is this: when it comes to, I'm going to say creation. I understand you don't believe there's a creator,
Sure.
but have you? I know it's an old argument and it's kind of simple, but when you look at animal life and human life and just the trees and everything, have you ever wondered if, could have come by random selection?
Of
Just
course,
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Of course I've wondered. But when I look at those things, and the question is,
MB,
how did this come to be?
Yo, they gave me my channel back.
Now,
What's good? I'm back in the building. Live in effect. Working on some more nudes. Ooh. Naked women. Chilling. You know me. Shit don't really change with me. Everything stay the same. Still working. Still making this art. Same old. I say that persistence, that consistency. Gotta be consistent.
the answer is, of course, I don't know. And that's the answer that our ancestors way back in time would have had, is I don't know. And then people are going to start making up explanations. And then you have to ask yourself, are any of these explanations supported by evidence? Are they plausible? Or is this just someone's attempt to come up with an answer that's comforting? And so I had them put up on the screen, basically a stack of rocks. And there's lots of examples. You can find pictures of these if you just Google impossible rocks or impossible rock balancing or stuff like that. You can find examples of these out here. And these things, if you don't know anything and you're unable to investigate, it looks like somebody stacked these things up. Or it looks like this was designed. I mean, there's some of them where it's like a huge boulder balanced on what almost looks like a pin, but they're actually connected. And if you do research into these things, a lot of them are washed away by water, erosion, things like that. And we can come up with plausible explanations for them. But I fully understand how somebody could look at that and say, you know what? I could easily imagine a giant or a god or aliens or some intelligent mind stacking those rocks up into that impossible formation. I understand how people get there. But do they actually have evidence that that is the best explanation and that is a plausible explanation? Because it turns out every single time we've investigated something in nature that religions have claimed was designed by an intelligence, and we've found what the answer is, the answer has never been God did it. The universe is far stranger than we could have imagined. We are, the notion that something looks designed is separate from something is designed is really hard to get people to accept. And yet we know that's the case. We don't know it in every circumstance, but we know occasions like that. How many examples do we have of a God doing anything?
Yes, sir, and I appreciate your explanation, but that leads me on to my next follow-up question. When you said we find out the answers on how it came to be, what about God might have did it, but maybe we're finding out the way he did it?
Why, if we, for example, let's say we discovered through the evidence that a particular rock formation was moving water, placed it, and water eroded away and left it in an impossible circumstance. What you're basically saying is, yeah, but you can't prove that God didn't use water to get that formation.
Well, that's a good point.
And the thing is, if you were to say, hey, Matt, you can't prove that God didn't use water and air erosion and soil erosion to do this, I would have to say, you're correct. I can't prove that God didn't do that. Can you prove that God did? Because until you demonstrate that that's how God did it. So they do the same thing with evolution. We look at the diversity of life. We know that we have self-replicating molecules and that genetics change over time. And so what happens is once upon a time, we didn't know any of that. And people are like, God created, Adam and Eve. And then all of a sudden, as we start learning more about how the world actually works, for a lot of reasonable, scientific-minded theists, the entire Genesis account became more metaphoric. It wasn't literal anymore, it was metaphoric. And so even when you get to guys like Francis Collins, who is the former head of the Human Genome Project, who acknowledges that the evidence for common ancestry is undeniable just from genetics alone, when someone like William Lane Craig or somebody comes along and says, yes, but that doesn't prove that God didn't tinker. There are still questions that evolutionary and science haven't answered. So maybe God tinkered with the genome in order to create those first humans. Well, that's what's called an ad hoc or post hoc rationalization. And basically, we have an answer, and you're still trying to find a gap to stick a God in. When there's been no demonstration that there is a God or that there is a gap. It's just, well, it's like this candle in front of me. It's currently lit. Now, it would be reasonable to assume that somebody took a match out of this matchbook and lit that candle. We had that. If I said I lit that candle with my mind, you could say, hang on, there's been a camera in that room, and we saw you pick up a match and light that candle. And I'd be like, yes, but I did that with my mind. That's not the sort of thing that's going to be convincing or compelling. And even if Don lit it, I could say I did it with my mind. Yeah. If you believe in telekinesis, raise my hand.
So the way we would respond is the time to believe something is when there's sufficient evidence for it.
Yeah.
And we don't have any evidence of God's. And so adding that in or trying to turn things around so that you can find some support for God is kind of working the thing backwards. You've got to follow the evidence where it leads.
Well, I think what y'all saying, because I think what y'all are trying to say, or the way I understand it, is we find answers. The religious people are always going to say, yeah, but God did that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, there's this notion of the God of gaps. Anytime there's a gap in our knowledge that religions have filled with their God, when we find the thing that actually goes in the gap, religions will point out, well, now there's two gaps. Because, at first we had a 2 and an 8, and we plugged that gap with a 6. And now somebody's like, oh, now there's a gap on either side of the 6, between the 2 and the 6. So we start plugging that. And we get this sequence of things that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we're like, oh, there's no more gaps. And like, oh, you forgot fractions. Well, there's an infinite set of possibilities for which you can find a way to insert a God. And the question that I have is, every single time that someone has stuck their God in as an explanation for a particular gap, how many times have we been able to demonstrate that they were correct? And that answer is 0.
Well, I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm a believer, but I'm kind of a different kind. You was talking to the caller about the South, and I do live in the South, and these people here are just do not question the Bible because I sin. Well, I don't believe that. I believe God is a big boy. He can take care of questions from man. So
I would certainly hope that would be true.
And I do come up against some things like, this don't make sense, you know, like you're talking about now. And to me, it kind of, if I was mad, if I was you, and people kept on saying, well, God did that, God did that, it must get you frustrated. It must get you to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm not talking anymore. So.
It would if it was the same person. But the thing that, you know, people, when we're talking about the guy who is trying to revitalize his atheist community, people, I have a number of pet peeves. I don't like to have to repeat myself, is one of them. But when I say that, I mean to the same person. I don't mean that I recognize when I come in here on the show, this is somebody's first episode to this show, and I would like for it to be as nice of an introduction to atheism, secularism, humanism, rationalism, skepticism as it can be. I don't always succeed. I won't pretend that that's always the case, but I try. It doesn't get frustrating? Sure. Yeah, I think we've declared moratorium on Pascal's wager for a period of time. I'm definitely declaring moratorium on conversations about slavery because the ignorant excuses from people who just don't know what their book says or don't care to be honest about it, that's tiring. But I'm happy to say the same thing over and over to new people.
Yes, sir. Well, you touched on people don't know the book. I can give you an amen. People here in the South, the Bible Belt, they really don't know what the Bible says. So yeah. I'm with you there. But one other quick thing, you know, I was talking all about
there are people who know what the Bible says, and we call them atheists.
Hey,
it does tend to go that way.
I would grant you that. Some of y'all do know. But as I was saying at the beginning, some people are just so rude and, you know, disrespectful, like Si. I would say, Matt Slick, you can like him if you want to. People here, family, that tells me if I do not go to church, I go to hell. Now, I might be a believer, but I have not been to church in years.
Ask him what verse says that. Yeah, ask him what verse says that ask him what verse says that you're going to go to hell if you don't go to church, because that's not in any Christian Bible I've ever read.
Thank you. Hey, you're just proving yourself you know more about the Bible than they do.
Oh, I'm still a better Christian as an atheist than most of them are now. But
I believe it. I believe it.
It's the same. It's like that crap when they talk about, you know, oh, God, this baby died because God needed another angel. They're just making shit up that's not in the book at all.
Yeah, those sayings are complete, you know, BS.
Yep. I talked about it a little bit last week. Anyway, John, I appreciate the call, and hopefully we addressed your question.
Thank y'all. Y'all been nice. Like I said, I was nervous, still am, you know, but hopefully I will call back and we'll get into some more debates.
Yeah. Happy to talk to you. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
That's the first time I heard a Christian.
We got William in Arizona. You're on with Don and Matt.
Hi, Matt. How are you guys?
That was one of the first times I heard a Christian acknowledge that most Christians don't know their fucking Bible. And that's a real problem. And most Christians don't know the Bible. They don't have every book memorized. And a lot of them are brought up not to even study the majority of the Old Testament, because we're in the New Covenant now, and we're living under the New Testament. But it's the same God, right? It's supposed to be the same God. from the Old Testament and the New Testament. So but that's what I like to say too. If you're religious, if you're really religious and you read your Bible, that's when you'll stop believing that shit. Because the only reason most people believe the Bible is because they haven't read it for themselves. Sit down and read that shit, yo. And you're gonna be like, what the fuck? What in the hoopla is going on here? But no. I know what my Bible says. No, you don't. You really don't. Stop playing yourself.
Irritated.
that comment is very funny. Anyway, so good job both of you for a great show.
Thanks.
Matt, I called last time a few weeks ago and I got hung up, but you didn't hang up on me. My phone died. That was unfortunate. Anyway,
Modern technology.
Modern technology, exactly. Every week that goes by and I don't call, my questions get more and more. So I know we're not going to get to most of them.
Start with the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have
We'll take one or two
for today, but I'm going to start with the second one. As the caller screener told me to start with the second one, then go.
Okay.
I have to go to the first one. So for the sake of the argument, I'm going to say that I say I'm an atheist, but I don't know if I am or not, but that goes to my first question. So my question for now is about intelligent design.
Okay.
And what I want to bring an example, and I want to see where it goes. Let's say you're walking that famous down the beach, and you find 1,000 old watches, from grandpa watches to pocket watches or whatnot, but they're very old and dated and stuff. And let's say you don't have anything else to compare it to in order to say whether it's intelligently designed or it is naturally occurring. Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You said these were watches, old watches, right?
Well, I'm saying as far as old watch as an example of something complex, something that has.
No. Once you define it as a watch, you know it was designed.
Well, I'm saying it's a watch because now we know what it is. But back then, you're walking and you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Let's say you just don't know what it is.
This analogy has been poisoned.
I'm walking along, and I find 1,000 things that I don't know what the fuck they are.
Yeah. So
Okay.
You don't
Let's start there.
A specific thing is, okay? And then
I don't know why we could have just started with one instead of 1,000, but keep going.
Well, I'll tell you. And then you get to somebody who will design a watch for you. Now you have an example of a watchmaker who builds a watch for you. Is that safe to say, now that you have somebody who designed a watch and you understand now you label it as a watch and all that stuff, then you compare it to the old ones and you see the mechanism in those, is it at that point safe to say those are all intelligently designed as well?
I I can't say at what point you would have sufficient information. It's not just a single one or somebody being able to replicate something. But if you have zero evidence for something occurring naturally, and you have evidence for it being actually constructed, designed, planned out by a thinking intelligence, then it's a reasonable inference to say, until somebody demonstrates watches reproducing and coming into existence without being designed, all of the evidence points to this conclusion. And so, like every other conclusion that we have, it is tentative and it is subject to revision when new information shows up. But it's a reasonable inference.
So if I understand you correctly, having one watchmaker making you a watch or a couple of watches for you, that is so at that point sufficient to say the ones that you saw on the beach and they have the same characteristics are also designed, even though you don't know who made them or who designed them. Is that fair?
It's reasonable to say that it's reasonable that is an inference that this is the most likely explanation.
Okay. So when I was thinking about all of this, the reason I came to this question was, we know about life on Earth, all the things that are alive, from plants all the way to animals or any sort of live entity. We have, our understanding was everything is happening naturally. Everything evolves, everything reproduces and all that stuff. But what happens when we think about things that humans did, like dogs and bananas and things that we made? So that's an example of intelligence.
You mean where we guided the evolution? Is that what you're referring to?
Is, now we have a, now, so obviously I'm not entering any supernatural intelligence in that. I'm saying that we know that people can make, human science can make a new species, like a dog.
Yes, it's called artificial selection, but it's, and sometimes you can work towards a goal, and sometimes it's just we're describing something that is, there's no more thought in it than there is in natural selection. It's just that there's an agent doing it.
How do we rule out, let's say there was other scientists that they got, let's say, wiped out throughout time, and we don't have the records of their work, but maybe they are the ones who actually made the wolf, and then we made dogs out of wolves.
Okay.
How do we rule that out?
Who said
it was naturally?
Who said we ruled it out?
Oh, I'm not saying you did. I'm saying, is it a possibility that if we can say...
We don't know if it's possible or not. We don't know if it's possible or not. That possibility would have to be demonstrated. So we...
The possibility was demonstrated by us making...
No. The fact that we can do something doesn't mean that it's possible that somebody else did something before us.
The fact that we can do it now doesn't mean that it was done in the past. It could have been done in the past.
Because we could be, for all we know, we could be the first intelligence to get to this level of ability to do anything remotely like that. So if that's the case, then what you're basically arguing for is possibility on the grounds that nobody's been able to demonstrate it's impossible. But possibility needs to be demonstrated. You can't just say it's possible. I mean, there are people who talk about this. It's called directed panspermia or undirected panspermia, if it's just like life floating through the galaxy. But the time to believe that somebody actually designed the wolf is when you have evidence for the wolf being designed. And this applies at every stage throughout the cobweb that is life. When the earliest self-replicating molecules arose, we don't know how or why that happened. Nobody's saying that nobody's saying it's impossible that it was some intelligence. It's just the time to believe that it was done by an intelligence is when there's evidence for that. And you can't go 20 steps down the chain and say, well, humans chose to breed these dogs with these dogs and then gradually got to some other dog and say, maybe that's what aliens did with early life forms to get to a wolf. Well, you can't say that it's possible. You can't say that it's impossible. And the time to believe it is when there's evidence for it.
Let me add that you can think of 1,000 possible scenarios where people came from outer space and did this, or sky pixies did that, or whatever fantastic story you want to come up with, and you can come up with thousands of those, and you don't just like pick one out of the hat and say this is the truth until I prove it false. You have to come up with evidence for these things. you should follow the evidence to where it leads, not invent stories and try to find, because you're if you're inventing stories, you're off in space, right? There's a million possible things you could come up with.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's just that my mind was like, okay, if all the watches, I didn't know who made it, and then I found somebody who can make a modern watch, it's like somebody made a dog when there was no dog.
Nobody made a dog. Nobody made a dog. Nobody made a dog. Nobody made a dog in the way that. Stop. Nobody made a fucking dog in the way that we make a watch. Those things are not even remotely in the same ballpark of making something.
Yeah, that's another.
We just created a new species.
The mechanism for dogs breeding is not something that we made. We can manipulate it, but that's different from creating gears and gear timing and springs and metal casing and learning all this stuff to put together a mechanical object that we thought of. It's not like there was necessarily something in the universe that was like, oh, here's how you could make a watch. If you breed this metal with this metal, you shape it this way, it's going to wind up a watch. Those two things aren't remotely comparable. And this is the problem of trying to argue by analogy, because now you're looking at a watch going, hey, we could have done that, and clearly we made dogs. No, we did not make dogs. We manipulated the breeding of dogs for specific results.
And so you can't call it design.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand. Yeah. Okay. If you give me a few minutes for my second question very quick, if you can give me a quick answer on that as well.
I'll try. And Don can try.
So, okay. Matt, do you remember that episode we were talking about the split brain patients and left brain and right brain behaving or responding to differently?
Yes.
So that intrigued me to ask this question, and I did end up watching the videos that you suggested the doctors and different.
V.S. Ramachandran.
I asked a couple of neurosurgeons like casual conversations, and it seemed that somewhat the conclusion was in people who are not split brain patients, like normal people, the right brain is quote unquote kind of a silent partner that gets suppressed by what the left brain says. Like if what you say may or may not agree with your right brain. You know what I'm trying to say? Like your left brain will say something that you communicate verbally, but if they diagnose your right brain,
you're probably calling the wrong show for this sort of question.
Pardon me?
You're probably calling the wrong show for this sort of question. Can you relate it to God somehow, or theism, or?
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say is this. What if how do we go down this path? If I say I'm an atheist, which I do say that, how do we know that your right brain is actually in the agreement with that? What if you are split into two, but your right brain is saying something?
Maybe you have two souls and they're fighting it out. Yeah.
Okay. How many more things are you going to come up with that we can't possibly prove? Maybe my right hemisphere and my left hemisphere are in agreement. Maybe they're not. Maybe the model of the brain that says the right hand's a silent partner, or right side's a silent partner, maybe that's wrong. We don't know. All we do know is that when in the specific patient study that V.S. Ramachandran was talking about, when you sever the corpus callosum and the two halves can communicate independently, one of them was a theist and one of them was not.
Correct.
Now, does that mean that half of my brain is secretly a theist? Well,
maybe.
The reason I think that's unlikely is because at one point I was a theist and now I'm not. And so either my left and right hemispheres, under the model you're suggesting, switched their beliefs, or it's a little more complicated than that, and at the end of the day, I'm just not convinced there's a God, whereas I used to be. But what we do know is from that study is that it's possible for two completely independent personalities holding different beliefs to communicate independently once that surgery's been performed. And that alone, irrespective of whether there's a God or whether half of your brain is lying or anything else, it's a big problem, and it relates to what Don was talking about earlier today, which was this issue of ensoulment. when that happens and you now have two distinct personalities that communicate independently, have different likes and preferences, does that mean that one half got a soul and the other one is soulless? Does it mean they have half a soul? Did God put an extra soul in when you did the surgery? Like, is he sitting around in the operating room going, damn, this is really going to mess stuff up. Let me stuff another soul in that person's head.
Well, no, I understand that, but I'm not talking about the soul being real. I'm talking about people's belief. Is it possible that your right brain that
I don't know.
Communicate with
I don't know.
Believes in God?
I don't know.
You don't believe in God.
I don't know. I don't know.
And we may never know because of the ethics of conducting such an experiment.
Yeah, there are certain experiments we just can't run around doing on the general population, no matter how amusing it might be.
Volunteer and find out.
And there's some there are some things that medical ethics prevent us from doing, even if you had volunteers. Like if I went in and said, I think I'd like my corpus callosum to be severed so that I can experience that and communicate and be two people, and I want to know what that's like. Nobody's ever going to do that.
No. They'll
They'll
show you the door pretty quick.
Maybe without splitting, they could just directly ask the right, like have a test on the right side.
But if the model is that the left brain can suppress the right brain, then you can't ask it questions until you do this other procedure. But the truth is, we don't know. So I would email V.S. Ramachandran, although I don't know that you'd necessarily get an answer, because I would expect that his first answer is, I don't know, but then he might tell you some stuff about neuroscience and what he suspects given the research he's done. Brilliant man, wonderful work, especially with mirror neurons and phantom limb syndrome.
He's done some very fascinating stuff.
I love listening to him talk.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
On that note, we're going to head out.
2 questions for today.
Yay.
I really appreciate you, man.
Sure.
I appreciate it, William. I'm going to... go dive into the deep waters, and Mohammed is on the line with Evidence for God. How you doing? Thanks for waiting.
Yes, hello, Matt.
Hi, Mohammed.
How are you doing?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I want to speak about my belief in God, the evidences we Muslims have for God. I told the show before, but I didn't feel my points were very clear in my previous calls.
Sure. Okay. So, just for clarity, it might be good if you gave like a brief definition of the God that you believe exists. You don't have to go on forever, and then tell us exactly. Like, start with what you think the best evidence is, because we might have to decide, what should or shouldn't count as evidence, but go ahead.
Okay. As for God, he is a being. He is a being above the world. He is a being with perfect qualities. And this is basically the God of Abraham, who created the world and who maintains it by his will and power. That is who God is, the creator. There are many verses in the Quran which speak about God. There is a very short chapter in the Quran. It is a very valuable chapter because it weighs a third of the Quran actually, and it basically was revealed. We believe when the Meccans, when the tribe of Muhammad came to, they were at the time unbelievers in his call. So they came to Muhammad and they said to him, "Describe to us your Lord. What is he made of?" So the Prophet ﷺ recited to them these verses. Say he is God, the One. God is self-sufficient. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to him any equivalent. So that is, maybe the shortest you can say definition of who God is.
Well, I was actually the definition you started with as a being. Essentially, you said a perfect being who sustains the world. That's far more specific than just saying God is the one and is self-sufficient. That's a bunch of sophistry that doesn't actually describe characteristics of God. Saying that God is a perfect being that sustains the world, that's a good enough starting place. So I guess what we need is...
I don't believe it's sophistry, not because when we say as-Samad, it means the one on whom everything depends when he doesn't depend on anything. That's
sure, but that
of him being the creator.
Saying that God is the thing upon which everything else is contingent doesn't even get to whether or not it's a being. That's why I'm saying that there's nothing substantive added there. When you've already said that God is a perfect being that sustains the world, you don't have to say he's the one and is self-sufficient and all that, because those are not as specific. Sure, but I'm just saying that doesn't help us. But if we go with God being this perfect being that sustains the world, then the next thing we need to talk about is what evidence has convinced you that such a being exists. And I will warn you in advance, there's a bunch of problems. How could you possibly tell whether a being is perfect or not?
Well, basically, the reason we know that God exists is through the evidences and through the science which He creates in the world. It's simple as that. There are things which come into existence and things which go out of existence.
I'm not convinced that anything comes into existence or goes out of existence. So far as I can tell, things simply change state. But even if we assume that something comes into existence, how is that evidence that God is the reason it comes into existence?
Can I speak a little bit about, because I believe that many people, if they knew that things come into existence, I think they will accept that there's someone who's bringing them into existence.
Well, okay, here's the problem, Mohammed. I'll let you address that, but first of all, saying that if people believed that things came into existence, you think they would be convinced that there's a God that's doing it, that's completely irrelevant. What people become convinced of is independent from what they're convinced of. So if you want to, you can give me an example of something that comes into existence, but at the end of the day, whether something comes into existence or something just changes state and you want to label that as coming into existence, that is separate from how do we know what caused that?
How do we know what caused that?
Yeah, you're saying that, okay. Like, give me an example of something you think comes into existence.
Okay, I believe that three human beings...
okay, we'll just go with human beings. Let's just go with me.
Yes.
You think that I came into existence. I think that I am merely a conglomeration and rearrangement of atoms that existed prior to that.
Yes.
But I will agree that this package, this meat sack thinking entity, there was a period in time where Matt didn't exist, and there's a period of time now it does. I think we're just dealing with labels here. But we'll go with me.
There's no label, Matt. Just a second. Because you are only the sum of your components. You're the sum of those atoms and components, and if there is a soul, you're the sum of that. You're the sum of whatever is you. Whatever is.
Yes, that's essentially what I'm saying.
Components.
That this big meat sack, this thinking meat sack, is something we call Matt. And your view is that Matt came into existence, and I'm going to set aside that point, because whether we're just talking about Matt as the label for this current state of this arrangement of matter, what I'm saying here is that it doesn't matter to this discussion. You're saying that because
very much,
Mohammed, hang on.
Very much, man.
You are saying that I came into existence and somehow this is evidence for God, correct?
I'm saying that because you came into existence, God, therefore God. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's what I asked. So the answer is yes. Please explain how my coming into existence, whether it happened or not, is irrelevant. We can, dicker about whether or not I'm just a rearrangement. Please explain how my coming into existence is evidence for God.
Okay. Basically, there are two ways to know God's existence through His science. The first
through science.
Through the science, observing the science.
Okay.
Okay, the first is intuitive. So, we believe, as Muslims, we believe, and we observe this in many people, and they know God intuitively without need of rational arguments.
Yeah, I reject that wholeheartedly as
That's not evidence.
Yes, I know that.
Okay.
I know that. But if that doesn't work, and if that intuition got somehow changed, you have to rely on some rational arguments.
Yes, that's all I care about is rational arguments, but particularly not just rational arguments, but rational arguments supported by evidence. The note here said you had evidence for God, and I've outlined this and specifically asked for the evidence, and instead of giving the evidence, you're telling me that you could know it by intuition or perhaps a rational argument. I want the evidence that shows that my coming into existence is explained, best explained or properly explained by God.
Yes, okay. But promise me that you'll give me time to explain to people why things begin to exist.
I promise you. See, here's the thing.
Okay.
The show has time limits, and so if it's going to take you 40 minutes to get there, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to let you speak. But here's the thing. Try not to get sidetracked, because all we want to know is what is the evidence from my coming into existence that necessarily or likely leads to God.
Okay. طيب. First of all, if you come into existence, there are some options that you have to consider. Basically, there is a verse which speaks about this.
I don't care about verses. I don't care about verses.
I know that.
Let's get to evidence.
I'm speaking about a rational argument presented in a verse. So, regardless of whether it is mentioned in the Quran or mentioned in the Bible or mentioned in any book, one has
just present the argument. I don't need the history of it.
Yes. We came into existence. We could not have been brought into existence by nothing. We could not have been brought into existence by ourselves. Therefore, something external must have brought us into existence.
Yeah, here's the thing, though.
The attributes, and to come to who that creator is, we have to look at the rational arguments for the attributes.
Okay.
Of that creator.
We need to pause, because first of all, I came into existence through a process of my parents having sex, and purely of matter and chemicals and natural things. So what you're talking about isn't so much that my coming into existence is evidence for God, but you seem to be suggesting that the existence of people or the existence of life must be explained by a God. And and the problem is that you're wrong. The correct.
I don't believe that.
Well, I'm getting ready to explain it to you.
Yes.
Let's, at some point in the universe, there wasn't any living thing, correct?
Okay.
And then, at some later point in time, living things existed, correct?
Yes.
Now, how did living things come to exist?
They came into existence. How they came into existence through the natural causes which led them to that existence. But the question is who brought them into existence?
No. The question is not who. The question is what is the explanation? Because when you say who brought them into when you say who brought them into existence, you are presuming that the answer must be a being, and the correct question is what is the explanation for life? And if it turns out that it's a being, then the being's the right answer. But the only way you can know that it's a being is to actually provide evidence that it is a being. How do you do that?
Yes. There are natural causes in the world.
Correct.
One thing causes another.
Yes.
It's true.
As far as I'm aware, those are the only causes.
No rational person will deny natural causality.
Well, I would agree with you.
How do you get to a being?
How do you get to a being?
How do you get to a non-natural explanation?
The fact that those things come into existence, and this is my claim, and I want to explain it later, the fact that those things come into existence cannot be explained by other things which came into existence.
No. You're asserting that it is not possible for there to be a natural explanation. Do you know everything about the natural world?
I know that there are natural explanations.
You are asserting, Muhammad, you are asserting that there can be no natural explanation for the origin of life. That's what you just said.
No, there can be a natural explanation. No. There must. I think there is a natural explanation.
Then why a minute ago did you say these things can't be explained by natural explanation?
No, the fact that they come into existence.
Sure.
I mean, there's temporal origination.
You are saying that the coming into existence of things cannot be explained naturally.
Yes.
How do you know that?
Cannot be explained by another creature.
So who cares? The fact that it does. First of all, my existence is explained by another creature, and the origin of every individual life beyond the initial abiogenesis is explained by it being derived from another natural creature. And as far as we know, while we don't have an explanation for abiogenesis, there's no reason to say that there's not a natural explanation. And yet your entire argument is there cannot be a natural explanation for abiogenesis. Therefore, I'm justified in asserting a supernatural one.
No, I am not saying that at all.
Okay.
I believe in natural causes.
Okay.
I'm saying that God is the creator of the cause and the effect.
How do you know that?
Because how do I know that? Because the cause comes into existence and the effect comes into existence. One thing perishes.
So God comes into existence?
No, I'm saying that
if you say that God is the cause of the cause, then that has to come into existence as well. But also,
that is correct. If you mean by cause, a natural cause or means, or like what's the word? Because causes actually. And what do you mean by cause?
Well, right now, I'd like you to get to some actual evidence for God, because so far what you've done is claim that the origin of life cannot be explained by natural explanations, and you can't tell us how you. No, you didn't.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that God creates things by their causes. He brings the cause and the effect into existence.
How do you know that?
And how do I know that? Because natural causality exists. It's not.
The existence of natural causality does not, in any way, affirm that there's an external supernatural cause for natural causality.
If those things were eternal. But they are not eternal. And basically, if God, I believe that there are, let's say, events within the Creator.
I no longer care what you believe. I'm asking for evidence, as I have been for quite a while now.
Yeah.
What evidence? Not argument. Hang on. Not argument. Not what you believe. You called with evidence for God. And so far, we have gotten nowhere near anything that should count as evidence for God. Do you have any?
Yes, if you just listen to me.
I've been listening to you.
You know the answer.
All right, you have 2 minutes to present some evidence, because if we keep going in circles about arguments related to causality, that's not evidence.
Okay. So if I began to exist, if I have a point in time where I began to exist, there must be something that brought me into existence. Okay? And every action subsisting in me must be equally brought into existence. So if I beget a child, I wouldn't be creating that child. That action would itself be created within me. That is the evidence. Because
that is not evidence. Okay, you don't understand the difference between evidence and an argument. You are making an argument, and it is contingent on your premises being true in order for the argument to be sound. And your premises are essentially assertions, but none of those get you to God. None of those are evidence for God. At the end of the day, what we could say is that, why is there something rather than nothing? And the answer is, we don't know. Maybe it couldn't have possibly been another way, but if you want to say that something had to bring things into existence, you have to actually not only demonstrate that there can be no natural explanation, which you can't do because you don't know everything, Or you can demonstrate, or you can demonstrate that there must then be a supernatural explanation, and then after you do that, you would have to demonstrate that the best candidate of all supernatural explanations is God, and you would have to do that by presenting evidence, not just.
Yes.
Yeah. So where's the evidence? Because you've wasted a minute and a half.
Basically not, because things come into existence, it's that simple.
But they don't.
If you realize that things come into existence
They don't.
at the beginning, I'll tell you, I haven't explained why I believe that they do. But if you...
I already granted you... I tried to avoid this earlier. I granted that for the sake of argument, we can assume things come into existence, even though I don't accept that proposition because I think it sets up an equivocation fallacy, which you are using. But even if I grant that things come into existence, the fact that something comes into existence is not evidence for what caused it to come into existence. You have to provide evidence for what the cause is. What is the evidence that God is the cause of things coming into existence?
Otherwise, you're just assuming that God did it. You're saying these things happen, therefore God did it. But how do you get to God did it?
I'll ask you 3 questions, Matt. Just 3 sequential questions.
You want to ask? Wait. You want to ask me 3 questions?
Related to the topic.
I don't. Okay. Here's the thing. This isn't a quiz show or an interview. You called to present evidence for God, something you have consistently failed to get close to, and now you want to ask me questions.
No, just to illustrate to the point.
Go for it. 3 questions.
Okay. Do you believe the creature? Do you accept that the creature cannot possibly create itself?
Yes. Well, no, hang on. Let me revise that. I have no evidence that a creature could create itself. That doesn't mean that I'm convinced that it's not possible.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know you don't know what to say. This is the thing. This is the thing about propositional. This is the thing about propositions. This is Muhammad. Stop. This is the thing about propositions and evaluating them. In order for me to say that it's impossible, I would have to, possibility needs to be demonstrated and impossibility needs to be demonstrated. So I can't say that I'm convinced that it's impossible. What I can say is I have no compelling evidence to believe that a creature could create itself. I have plenty of evidence that every creature that we've examined or would have access to did not in fact create itself in any sense that we can identify. That does not mean that it's impossible. I can say that the overwhelming evidence is that it is incredibly unlikely, if not impossible, that a creature could create itself. All of those things are plausible when you address the proposition. Question 2.
It is, Matt, it is very irrational to say that things can create themselves.
I didn't say that it was. This is the problem. This is the problem.
It is very irrational. Yes, I'm sorry. It is very irrational to claim that...
I don't give a rat's ass because I didn't claim that, Muhammad. Why are you telling me? You might as well be saying it's irrational to think that the sky is pink and pukes out pea soup. That is as relevant to this conversation as saying that it is irrational. Because here's the thing. It can be irrational for someone to say that it is possible for a creature to create itself. And that tells you nothing about whether or not it is rational or irrational to believe that it is impossible for a creature to create itself. They're 2 separate propositions.
You don't accept that it is impossible for a creature to create itself. This is not the contention.
You don't understand, Muhammad. I'm trying to explain to you. Here, there's a jar of gumballs on this.
I listen to you.
I don't give a rat's ass. I'm doing it again. Do you agree that there's either an even or an odd number of gumballs in here?
I don't know until I count them.
You don't know that there has to be either an even or an odd number of gumballs in here?
No, there has to be either an even or an odd number.
Correct, right? So the number of gumballs in this jar has to be either even or odd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a rational justification for believing that the number is even?
Not yet.
Sorry?
Not yet. I don't have...
Not yet. Cool. We agree. Now, does that tell me anything at all about whether or not you're convinced that it's odd?
It does.
It does?
All right, guys. I'm going to take a break.
No, it doesn't. Because
correct, it doesn't. So if you were to tell me that you are not convinced that the number is even, and I were to say it's irrational for you to think it's odd, wouldn't that be...
gonna finish doing some laundry, and I gotta get ready to drop a piece of art off somewhere. But been here for 2.5 hours. Take a break out here for a minute. Like I say, I need to finish cleaning up and get some stuff done. I might play some video games for a little while before I leave. If I do hop on the PlayStation downstairs, I'll definitely stream some video games with you guys. And like I said, I gotta run some errands, and then when I get back this afternoon, I'll come right back in the studio. Oh, I need to work on this drawing definitely today. Matter of fact, let me get my pencils ready now. My sharpener's not on. Alright guys, like I say, I'll probably see you guys downstairs in a little while. If not, we'll be back in the studio later this evening. Peace.